He spent over 20 years developing the Latin Vulgate. Aside from this, he also wrote a large number of commentaries, including one on Daniel, that is largely geared at refuting Porphyry, the hero of the modern-day critic. Jerome wrote, Porphyry wrote his 12th book against the prophecy of Daniel, denying that it was composed by the person to whom it is ascribed in its title, but rather by some individual living in Judea at the time of Antiochus, who was surnamed Epiphanes. Porphyry furthermore alleged that Daniel did not foretell the future so much as he related the past. And lastly, that whatever he spoke of up till the time of Antiochus did contain authentic history, whereas anything he may have conjectured beyond that point was false, inasmuch as he would not have foreknown the future. The same arguments that we're still dealing with today. Jerome then continues on saying that none of the prophets has so clearly spoken concerning Christ as has this prophet Daniel. But also he set forth the very time at which he would come and stated the actual number of years involved and announced beforehand the clearest signs of the events to come. And because Porphyry saw that all these things had been fulfilled and could not deny that they had taken place, he overcame this evidence of historical accuracy by taking refuge in this evasion, contending that whatever is foretold concerning Antichrist at the end of the world was actually fulfilled in the reign of Antiochus Epiphanes because of certain similarities to things which took place at his time. The thing to highlight here is Jerome's comment about the Antichrist being present at the end of the world. Now, moving out of his prologue and into his 70 weeks commentary, is that we start with his very own translation of verses 24 through 27. Looking at verse 24 is that we can see that his point 6 is clearly describing the Messiah. Then, in verses 25 through 26a, is that you can see that he is seeing one Mashiach in the prophecy. Remember that some can see two in the prophecy, with the first one being Zerubbabel or Joshua the high priest, and the second being Jesus. Now, the way Jerome finishes translating verse 26 is that he is clearly distinguishing the leader that shall come from Jesus in the first part of the verse. This then carries into verse 27 that the he there is speaking of the leader that shall come and not the Messiah. Jerome now comments saying, because the prophet had said, Thou didst lead forth thy people, and thy name was pronounced upon thy city and upon thy people. Gabriel, therefore, as the mouthpiece of God, says by implication, By no means are they God's people, but only thy people. Nor is Jerusalem the holy city of God, but is only a holy city unto thee, and thou sayest. So, basically, Jerome is saying that this prophecy is for the Jewish people alone, but with the added statement that they are not God's people. He backs up this interpretation by referencing Exodus 32, when God told Moses to go back down the mountain because Moses' people are worshiping the golden calf. This argument is still used today by some Christian commentators to namely draw a dividing line between national or ethnic Israel and what they would call the true or spiritual Israel, i.e., the church. For Jerome, though, this is the end of his expositing on the 70 weeks, as he says the following. Now, I realize that this question has been argued over in various ways by men of greatest learning, and that each of them has expressed his own views according to the capacity of his own genius. And so, because it is unsafe to pass judgment upon the opinions of the great teachers of the church and to set one above another, I shall simply repeat the view of each and leave it to the reader's judgment as to whose explanation ought to be followed. From this, he describes and cites 7 Christian views and the view of the Hebrews. The last one will be discussed in our upcoming video on Jewish interpretations of the 70 weeks. So, as far as constructing Jerome's 70-week system is the following. Now, did he see the Messiah's death right at the end of the 62nd week period, or simply that it would happen after their completion? Can't say for sure. But in regards to his 70th week view, I think we can say that he is a futurist in those regards, because we noted earlier his comment on predicting the Antichrist's presence at the end of the world, and that he was drawing upon verses 26 through 27 for this. And if you were to flip back to his chapter 2 commentary, is that he tags the Fourth Empire with Rome and finishes saying, "But its feet and toes are partly of iron and partly of earthenware, a fact most clearly demonstrated at the present time." So it's possible that Jerome sided with others believing that the end of the world was near during his time period. He develops more on this idea in his chapter 7 commentary by equating the fourth beast with the Romans, and adds that all the kingdoms at once are to be destroyed because of the blasphemy of the Antichrist. And the succeeding empire shall not be an earthly empire at all, but is simply the abode of the saints, which is spoken of here, and the advent of the conquering of the Son of God. Moving ahead to his 725 commentary, speaking on the 3.5-year persecution of the Antichrist, is that Jerome continues saying on this, "During this period, the saints are to be given over to the power of the Antichrist, in order that those Jews might be condemned who did not believe the truth but supported a lie." Jesus also spoke of this period in the Gospel, saying, "Unless those days had been cut short, no flesh would be saved." The connector here for us is that Jerome cites Matthew 24:22, and that should be ringing a bell in our heads, because this is from the Olivet Discourse, where Jesus prophesies on the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet. And because of these additional comments, is that it's evident that Jerome envisioned a parenthesis of time between the 69th week and the final 70th week that would occur at the eschatological endpoint in the near future. Reminder, hit the subscribe button below, turn on the notification bell, hit the like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to visit us at justscripture.org. But in the meantime, stay salty.